Bill Burr is our guest. He has got a show coming up at Moda Center next week, February 22nd, is where you could catch him live at Moda Center. Your stand-up act it's incredible. And I find you said, the bald ginger part, and you kind of get wound up when you're on stage. And I know you're a big fan of him, but Sam Kinison is, for my money, one of the greatest entertainers on stage. In the way that he used to get wound up too, where he'd be like, the Pee Wee Herman joke gets me every time, where he's like, "Oh, Nurse Nancy, Nurse Nancy," and he just starts screaming and yelling. How much do you draw from the comics that you grew up in watching?
Well, I was definitely a huge fan of Kinison, but like Kinison had. He just had a whole other gear where it was like, a lot of times they like to pretend when a comedian comes out, like, "Oh boy, we don't know what he's going to do. Hold on to your comedy hats," and like this is sort of like very safe danger. Like this guy's going to say some nutty things.
Yeah.
With Sam, like you literally, like the fear was real. You had no idea what he was going to do. And I think a lot of times, probably he didn't. It seemed like a lot of it was sort of like feeding off the mood of the crowd. And I heard some wild stories of him, back in New York, doing late night shows at Dangerfield's. Tony, who used to run the place before it finally closed during COVID, he told me some crazy stories. So like, I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like he definitely was an influence on me, but like I did in no way, shape, or form could I ever do what that guy did. That guy was a master, man. Not to mention, before he ever was a comedian, he had all of that performance experience of being like a preacher, and then the hypocrisy of religion, and then your ability to manipulate people and all of that type of stuff. Like all of that was just, I felt, was feeding his comedy. That was an indescribable loss to stand up when he passed.
Pivoting to something a little nicer in the sense of checking in on the Boston sports fan that you are. Where are you? Where are you following the latest Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl chase as he is chasing your GOAT Thomas Edward Brady?
Well, I think he definitely has the tools to do it, and I think they're a great organization. The only thing I would be worried about with them is Andy Reid's age. So, like, Belichick was like in his early 50s when Tom first won, and then, stuck around for 20 years into his early 70s. Their coach is already 65. So that would be the only thing, because to go on a run like that, the QB is going to get all the glory, but you need the whole thing. You need the players, you need the coach, and you need the ownership. And right now, the Chiefs have that. So I don't see anything stopping them. And I also think that Mahomes has that drive. Like, he's not going to be satisfied with 3. So you have that. So the only thing I would be worried about is if, in 5-6 years, Andy Reid wants to retire. But like trying to win 7, man, is it's pretty nuts. But, the game has also changed. The game has also changed where a quarterback can, like, be healthy for that long. I mean, they used to just absolutely like guys like Steve Grogan. Like, I just remembered, like, you would see, like, he would wait to the last second to throw the ball, and you just see him fly out of the right side of your TV as they followed the ball. I mean, he got so beat up on those AstroTurfs and everything. Like, Steve Grogan, like, the last 3 years he played, he literally had a neck brace, like, sewn into his uniform. And Bob Greasy and all of those, Dan Pastorini, what's his face, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, that hit he took against the Giants, they thought they killed him. It's just like... so I can't even, like, if people say that, Tom's the greatest of all time, it's just like, obviously, the argument's there, but like, I don't, it took Joe Montana 4 attempts to win 4 Super Bowls, and they were beating the living hell out of him on AstroTurf when he was on the road. And I feel like the 49ers got rid of him too soon, but they did have Steve Young, but he definitely could have got 5, maybe 6 if they stayed with him. If you saw he went to the Chiefs with Marcus Allen and they made the playoffs and everything. So it's really hard to kind of compare errors. But I think the way that they protect quarterbacks now, and then also Tom Brady's showing sort of the body that you need. It isn't that, roided up body. He was sort of more like Pilates lean, type of thing. I saw an NFL quarterback recently. I'm not going to name any names because I don't like doing that. But I saw this guy, and I was really surprised that he was leaner than he was bulky. And, and he's all, they're all 6'5", 6'6", and I'm looking at him. I'm like, this guy looks more like a basketball player than he does a football player. But I just think there's a lot out there that is in Patrick Mahomes' favor to come really close to it. But it's just as a sports fan, like I never root against greatness, even if you're going to pass one of my players that played for one of my teams. I don't care. I like seeing you got to have that great team everybody's trying to knock off.
Look, I'm a Patriots fan as well, and I have said this about this past year and really last 2 years of being a Patriots fan is like, especially this season, it was usually when you say your team is making you feel like a kid again, it's because you have those joyous moments. This year felt like being a kid again because the Patriots just weren't good, and that it was one of those
like Sullivan Stadium.
it was brutal at times. Just be like, well, yeah, here we go again. We're just going to get our heads beat in, but. Now I want to get your thoughts on Gerard Mayo, and we got Mac Jones for now. How do you feel about the future of our Pats?
I feel good about, listen, I will say this. You got to give Robert Kraft credit. I would say as an owner, the first 3 coaching hires, I don't think anybody's ever done it better. Bill Parcells, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick. So I think he knows how to pick a coach. And what I also liked was how clean it was. It was like Belichick stepped down and we immediately had a replacement. They ripped the Band-Aid off. It wasn't this long, drawn-out, embarrassing thing. They didn't embarrass Belichick. He was ready to go. One of the things that people forget about Belichick is not only did he do what he did for 20 years, he did it with second-round draft picks. Like, we never went for that blue-chip guy. And, we played that game forever, and then eventually the fountain just kind of ran dry. And I like that our new coach is played the game. I think he's going to be a player's coach, but hopefully a disciplinarian, because historically I don't like a player's coach because I think sometimes they suffer a need to be liked when they need to be, it's like the dad that wants to be friends with his kids rather than being a dad. So I hope we don't run into that, but I think a change was needed, and, hopefully we draft some offensive linemen so we can actually see what Mac Jones can do, because that kid's been running for his life his whole career.
Yep.
Bill, I'm wondering, I have some friends in stand-up, and the thing that they've talked about a lot is over the last couple of years just how crowds are different and how you go about things differently, just like the post-COVID world. Has there been any kind of change in how you either your delivery or how you prepare or how crowds react, just not even just because of COVID?
No, that's a myth. It never changed. It just was. It changed at like Hollywood award shows and some college campuses, or maybe in New York City. Everybody got all like, and it was all BS. It wasn't like they didn't find the same stuff funny. They just were trying not to get in trouble. So you kind of dealt with that, but every place else. That's why I knew Old Dads was going to kill. I was just like, I'm on the road. People are still laughing at this stuff. People never stop laughing at this stuff, and we're not. I'm not being like racist. I'm not like being malicious or homophobic, but I'm just, the Old Dads. We were like these harmless idiots who were trying to be better guys, but it's like we were threatening. We were just dummies. So, that's why we scored really high with like women. Like they really liked it. So I think, something always happens politically or in the entertainment world, and then corporate lawyers overreact, and then studios they just way overcorrect. And it's none of it is done to make society better. It's all about them protecting their jobs and trying to make sure they still make money and they don't get fired. Like they don't they don't. All of these groups they pretend to care about. They care about one group, green. They care about money. That's all they care about. They don't care about anybody, just like politicians.
I love it. Bill Burr, he's going to be in Moda Center February 22nd. That is next week. We appreciate the time, man. Love old dads because we stick the landing even though we step in it so many times through and through. We really appreciate you taking a few minutes for us, man. Thank you.
No worries, and I appreciate you guys helping me sell those last few tickets. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem, Bill. Selfishly, I'll see you there the 22nd. My wife and I will be there. We're really excited you're coming to town, man, and thanks for taking the time.
All right, come back and say hello.
Absolutely.
There he is, Bill Burr, Moda Center, February 22nd. That dude, I mean, you think about it, you could just kind of go anywhere with him, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And just get it.